carcinoma and seminomas, they do not produce AFP, as I told you. As I told you, S and C, they both hand in hand. They don't produce AFP. S and C, along with E, they produce HCG. So this is one way how you can remember. Choriocarcinoma, embryonal carcinoma, and seminoma. These three things, these three things produce H. Chess is one thing. So you can get the three options, and the fourth one is yolk sac. You should mark which of the following does not produce HCG. Your answer should be yolk sac. Okay. Staging. I would request you, all of you, stay focused for the next couple of minutes. Staging has been changed very much in the HSCC 8th edition. And I am going to make your life comfortable and easy to help you understand staging in a very simple way. Stage 1 is any disease that is confined to the testis, limited to the testis. There is no metastasis either in the distal, distant organs or into the lymph nodes. Stage 1 limited to the testis, simple. Stage 2 to the lymph nodes. Stage 3 into the distant meds or non-regional lymph nodes. Simple. Okay. This is again quite important in your management. The right side testicular tumors, the primary drainage side is interaortocaval nodes. The left side testicular tumors, the landing zone is para-aortic lymph nodes. Now, I would unmute one of you. Can you please turn on that option for unmuting? Yeah. You're unmuted. You can unmute yourself.
Yeah, I can unmute.
Okay, I'm not able to see the names of the students. Okay, someone of you unmute yourself and tell me your name. One of you. One of you, please give me your name. I think they are not able to unmute themselves. Any one of you are wasting the time. Please unmute and you can get speak to me. The main intention of this session is to be interactive and participation. If no one is willing to participate, you can unmute yourself.
Anurag, sir.
Yes, sir. Kirti Singh, sir.
Kirti Singh, right. Kirti will remain unmuted. Rest of you can mute yourself. Kirti.
Yes, sir.
Right. What is the primary landing zone for a left side testis?
Sir, para-aortic lymph nodes.
Wonderful. Okay. Okay. Have you ever heard of something called as crossover phenomena?
Yes, sir.
So crossover happens from right to left, left to
the
right.
Lymphatic drainage is from the lymphatic drainage sir, is from right to left and from caudal to cranial direction, sir.
Wonderful. It's from down to up and
right to left.
Am I right, Kirti?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The lymphatic drainage is from right to left. So there is something called as crossover phenomena. So in a patient having a left side testicular tumor, the lymphatic drainage will be to the left side retroperitoneal nodes. However, in a patient having right side testicular tumor, it can be either into the right side retroperitoneal nodes or it can go into the left side retroperitoneal nodes also. Kirti, am I right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is called as crossover phenomena. If you all can remember this thing, right to left, then it is wonderful. There is no confusion. Very frequently asked in MCQs, the direction of crossover. Most of the times you tend to get confused whether it's right to left or left to right. So I would say that if all roads lead to Rome, then all lymphatics should land in the left. All lymphatics should finally land in the left. Okay. So the pattern of lymph node should finally go to the left side. So there is a right to left crossover, but never a left to right crossover. Am I right, Kirti?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. This is a simple method how you will never go wrong if you can remember, if all roads lead to Rome, then all lymph should land in left side. Okay. And then after serum tumor markers, Keith, you can mute yourself. Rest of all, mute yourself. Only I will be unmuted. Okay. And after seeing the serum tumor markers and the lymphatic drainage pattern, how do you stage the tumor? CT abdomen is used to see the lymph node status of the in the retroperitoneum. 1 centimeter is a cutoff that's used to identify. However, any lymph node that is in the size of 5 to 9 mm, less than 5 mm, you can confidently ignore. However, if it is in the range of 5 to 9 mm, and if it is present in the primary landing zone, that is, for the left side, it is in the left retroperitoneum. For the right side, it can be either in the right or left. 5 to 9 mm in the primary landing zone should be viewed with high suspicion. That is the importance of CT scan. And what is the importance of FDG PET? FDG PET has no role in the diagnosis of CA testis metastasis. No role in the diagnosis of CA testis metastasis. Only one area where FDG PET is used is post-chemotherapy residual seminoma. CTH in this slide refers to chemotherapy. Hereafter, whenever you come across CTH or CT, it means that chemotherapy. So PET is only indicated in a residual tumor that is seen after chemotherapy. I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? I think you can hear me now and should be able to see me also. Okay. We had seen, is it okay?
Yeah, fine.
All right. We had seen the role of importance of CT abdomen and FDG PET scan. Now let us see what is the importance of chest imaging. Any patient who comes with testicular mass, you don't do CT chest in everyone. First, you do a chest X-ray. So, what are the indications of CT chest? Patient with elevated STM, serum tumor markers, and that elevation has to be present post-orchidectomy. Important MCQ again. Elevated post-orchidectomy STM is an indication, not pre-orchidectomy. Post-orchidectomy STM. In a physical examination, anything is suspicious. If abdomen CT is showing abdomen CT is showing a metastasis, then only you go for a CT chest. If abdomen CT is showing no mets, then CT chest is not indicated. Patient with chest X-ray showing any suspicious findings, or the last one is very important. Stage 1 NSGCT with risk factors like lymphovascular invasion or EC predominance. EC is embryonal carcinoma pattern. If the stage 1 NSGCT is having risk factors like LVI or EC predominance, then only you go for the chest imaging. Non-pulmonary visceral mets, most commonly they either go to the brain or bone. Routinely, bone scan is not indicated. It's only done when the patient is symptomatic. However, one exception where you do a asymptomatic CT head is an MCQ again. CT head, brain, when the HCG levels are more than 10,000, even if the patient is asymptomatic, patient has a risk of having brain mets. So do a CT head. So two things I told you. CT chest is not required routinely in every patient. Only done when the abdomen is having positive notes, when the chest X-ray is showing positive, or your examination is showing any positive finding, or stage 1 is showing risk factors like lymphovascular invasion or embryonal carcinoma predominant. only then you go for a CT chest. CT brain only when patient is symptomatic or asymptomatic patient with HCG elevated more than 10,000. Okay. I will come to this later on. There's something called as TNM staging that's given by AJCC. Problem with TNM is that it places all the advanced GCTs into one group. Non-pulmonary visceral mets and visceral mets and other visceral mets are all grouped together. That is one problem. And TNM also doesn't differentiate between seminoma and non-seminoma. Seminoma and non-seminoma, they have a differential prognosis, but TNM doesn't give much weightage to this issue. So for that reason, there is something called as IGCCCG, International Germ Cell Committee, or some consensus guidelines have come up. They preferentially differentiate between advanced GCTs. Metastatic in metastatic GCTs, they divide into good and intermediate and poor prognostic. So I will explain you. Please focus for the coming 2 minutes. I'm going to tell you what are the updates in the AJCC 8th edition. Previously, epididymis is used to be a T1, but now it is a T2. The invasion of the hilum, it is T2. Seminoma is subdivided into less than 3 centimeters, T1A, and T1B, that is more than 3 centimeters. Very important. This is useful in your treatment. This T1A, T1B applies only to seminoma, not to non-seminomatous germ cell tumors. This can be an MCQ for you. T1 subclassification applies to seminoma and not NSGCT. This is spermatic cord. I beg your pardon, there's a mistake here. You please correct this one. It's not seminal vesicle. It's a spermatic cord. Spermatic cord invasion, discontinuous invasion is considered to be a M1 and not a T3. Right. Okay. What is T1? T1 is tumor that is absolutely confined to the testis. T1 in seminoma is divided into T1A and T1B, whereas NSGCT does not have this subclassification. T2, guys, pay attention. What is T2? T2 has multiple definitions. These are very important, can be asked in MCQ. T2 is nothing but T1 with lymphovascular invasion. That is, tumor confined to the testis with lymphovascular invasion. T1 is tumor confined to the testis without lymphovascular invasion. T2 is tumor confined to the testis with lymphovascular invasion, or tumor that has invaded into the hilar soft tissue or external surface of the tunica albuginea. Tunica albuginea, internal surface, if it is involved, then it is T1A. Most of you think that tunica albuginea, anywhere it is involved, then it is considered as T1A, T1. But external surface of the tunica albuginea, that is the visceral mesothelial surface. These are the slides, screenshots that have been picked up directly from the AJCC manual. So with lymphovascular invasion and T1, or tumor on the external surface of the tunica albuginea, you can remember by the mnemonic HAVE. H is for hilar tissue, A is for albuginea, V is for vaginalis, and E is for epididymis. When I say albuginea, I say the external surface of albuginea, but not the inner surface of albuginea. If the inner surface of albuginea is involved, it is T1 and not T2. External surface or the visceral mesothelial surface should be considered as T2. Okay. So if HAVE is present, it can be considered T2, irrespective of lymphovascular invasion. This is the important point. Have features without lymphovascular invasion, with or without lymphovascular invasion. HAVE with or without lymphovascular invasion. And T3 is spermatic cord involvement. I think morning Dr. Harshavardhan he has summarized to you. T4A in CA bladder is a seminal vesicle involvement. In CA prostate, someone have mistaken CA prostate as per the new AJCC 8th edition. Seminal vesicle is T3B, whereas seminal vesicle involvement in CA bladder is T4A. Spermatic cord involvement is T3. in a case of CA testis. To just impress upon your minds, I have put up images also. Rete testis is considered a part of the testis only. So rete testis lies within T1 only. Hilal soft tissue, as I have told, HAVE, epidermis, hilal soft tissue, albuginea external surface, tunica vaginalis. These all come under T2. This is T2 again. T2 is equal to T1 plus lymphovascular invasion, or hilar soft tissue, albuginea external surface, or epidermis. You can see the epidermis here. Tumor is involved in the epidermis. Epidermis is, I think it's given in this slide. Epidermis involved. This is the epidermis. So, okay. So now you know what is T2 and what is T1. And now you can see T3 here. Spermatic cord involvement is involved in this image. That is T3. Here it is going into the scrotal skin. That is T4. And this thing again I have picked up from AJCC 8th edition. It will be surprising for you all. Spermatic cord is T3, as we are already known. However, microscopic vas involvement, that is equal to spermatic cord involvement. It is considered as spermatic cord involvement only. The thing in green, please focus on the thing in green. Microscopic vas involvement is T3. However, the red thing next you have to see, discontinuous involvement of the spermatic cord soft tissue via vascular thrombus is M1. But intravascular tumor in the spermatic cord without soft tissue involvement. See, it's a surprise to you all. I have been telling to you that spermatic cord is T3, but if there is a discontinuous involvement, if there's a discontinuous involvement, it goes to M1. If there is just an intravascular tumor without soft tissue involvement, then it goes to T2. So spermatic cord in the same testis, it can give rise to three different scenarios. It can go into T3, it can go into T2, or it can go into M1. This can be a potential MCQ. This slide has been picked up from AJCC. Keep in your mind, very important thing. Suprabhat, he has raised his hand. Unmute him, Suprabhat. Ganguly, he has unmuted. You can unmute and ask your question.
No, sir. At that time, I was not able to unmute myself, so that's why I raised my hands. Not now.
Okay. If nothing, you can mute yourself. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. One more important thing is that TNM classification also incorporates the serum tumor markers. That is post-orchidectomy serum tumor markers, but pre-chemotherapy. That is done after surgery, but before chemotherapy. These levels have to be measured after surgery, but before chemotherapy. It's been divided into S1, S2, S3 based on the levels. You just by heart these levels. It is important. And as I told you, stage 1 is organ confined, that is testis confined. As you can see here, stage 1, it is only limited to the testis. It's all N0 only in stage 1. There will be no nodal involvement. Nodal involvement will be considered into stage 2. Whatever the testicular status, if it is going into the regional lymph nodes, then it will be considered as stage 2. However, in stage 2, patient can have minor elevation of the serum tumor markers. That is, patient can have either S0 or S1. So, nodal involvement with S1 is considered as a stage 2. Distant metastasis is stage 3. So, in distant metastasis, patient will be having M1 or M0. However, the patient will be having elevated serum tumor markers. The patient will be having just serum tumor markers 1, 2, and 3. 3A is tumor marker S1 level with M1A. 3B is S2 and 3C is S3. Okay, simple way to remember. Organ confined, node confined, distant metastasis. As I told you, there's something called as IGCCG classification, which substratifies seminomas and non-seminomas, as well as it divides the advanced germ cell tumors, that is metastatic tumors, into good prognosis, intermediate prognosis, and poor prognosis. What I want to impress upon you is that there is no poor prognosis category in the seminomas. Seminoma, it has got only two categories. The two blue dabbas you can see, they are seminoma. Seminoma, it has got only good prognosis and intermediate prognosis. There is no poor prognosis. There is no poor prognosis in seminoma. Whereas NSGCT, it has got good prognosis. It has got intermediate prognosis. It has got poor prognosis. All three are present. Okay. How do you differentiate? Three things are considered in IGCCC classification. Three things. What are those three things? P, S, and M. P is whether the patient is having a primary, whether it's in a testicular or in a retroperitoneal primary. S stands for serum tumor markers. M stands for metastatic level. If it's is it a pulmonary metastasis? I mean, is it a pulmonary metastasis or a non-pulmonary metastasis? Pulmonary metastasis will be considered as an M1A. Non-pulmonary metastasis will be considered as a M1B. So three things you use while subclassifying into good, intermediate, and poor. One thing that you need to understand is that in a seminoma, only one factor is used. Whatever might be the primary site, whatever might be the level of serum tumor markers, only one thing that will differentiate between good prognosis and intermediate prognosis is that patient having M1A is good prognosis, patient having M1B is intermediate prognosis. It doesn't take consideration of primary site. It doesn't take consideration of serum tumor markers. Important again, only one factor that is used to differentiate, substratify seminoma is pulmonary visceral pulmonary mets. Patient without non-pulmonary mets is good. Patient with non-pulmonary mets is intermediate. There is no poor prognostic category. Okay, what constitutes the good prognosis in a non-seminoma? PSM. The primary has to be either testicular or retroperitoneal. It should not be mediastinal. It should be testicular or retroperitoneal. It should be M1A, and it has to be S1. It has to be S1. And what I want to impress upon you is that the word "and" it has to be testicular primary, and it has to be M1A, and it has to be S1. The word "and" is important. In intermediate prognosis, it has to be testicular primary, and it has to be M1A, and it has to be S2. All these three should be present. In a poor prognosis, if every one of these present, one is enough. If it is S3, or if it is having mediastinal primary, or if it is having non-pulmonary visceral mets, if one of these is present, then it will land up in poor prognosis. But to have a good prognostic, it should have all the good prognostic things. If one bad is present, then it will go into the poor prognostic. I think you are clear with this one. Two more slides and we will have a short break. So there's something called as sperm cryopreservation. These all percentages are very important. Any patient who is presenting with a GCT, 50% will be oligospermic at the time of diagnosis, and 10% will be agiospermic. At the time the patient comes to your clinic, 50% are already oligospermic, 10% are agiospermic. That is the reason GCT causes sperm count to decrease. That is the reason why you focus more on preserving the sperms. And one more reason is that 100%, that is all of them will finally go into agiospermia after chemotherapy. So if the patient in the middle age who is desiring of paternity, you need to do a sperm cryopreservation. Even though 100% of them go to agiospermia, by the end of 2 years, 50% will come back to normal. I mean, baseline levels. and by the end of 5 years, 80% will come back to normal level. So you can't tell the patient, you wait for 5 years for after the therapy, and then you become a father. That is not a good option. So you need to do a sperm cryopreservation. Recovery after radiation, it takes about 2 to 3 years. And in a patient who has undergone retroperitoneal lymph node dissection without nerve sparing, 80% will develop ejaculatory dysfunction. So MCQ that's again important is that banking can be done before or after also, even after radical orchidectomy. After is one word that's been highlighted in the Campbell textbook. Even after orchidectomy also, you can consider for sperm cryopreservation. Pediatric principles, I'll skip it. These are all given for you so that you can go back. This is a wonderful table. I've summarized all into a single from 5 different places of Campbell textbook. I summarized into one place. As I told you, seminoma is 55% of all GCT. NSGCT is 45%. Seminoma is a less aggressive one. It comes at an early age. At the time of diagnosis, most of them are at a lower stage. 85% at a lower stage. Only 15% are in advanced stage. 85% lower stage. In NSGCT, this is again MCQ. 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. 1/3 stage 1, 1/3 stage 2, 1/3 stage 3. Right? And one more important thing. Good and intermediate prognosis are only present. Okay. Present. There is no poor risk category in seminoma. 90% of the seminomas will fall into good risk, and only 10% will fall into intermediate risk. However, in an NSGCT, 55% will fall into good risk, and 45% will fall into intermediate and poor risk. Okay, that's what I want to impress upon you. This all I think it can be. These slides I had made so that you can go back and read home. These are not required. These are all self-explanatory. Some terminologies that you need to understand: what is primary chemotherapy, what is induction. Primary and induction are one and both in the same. Induction is something that you give at the first time. It is called induction. If something that's given after the adjuvant chemo, after surgery, you call it adjuvant. If it's given after the failure of first-line chemotherapy, then you call it as a salvage chemotherapy. Okay, now I am coming to you with a bundle of guidelines. But before I throw this on your head, we will take a 10 minutes break. 7:20, we'll be back at 7:30, and we will finish off within 1 more hour. 7:30, we all will be back. One more request is that I'll be logging out now, and you all will be getting a new login ID and meanwhile, I would request you please update your Zoom apps in the coming 10 minutes. There's some technical issues that's running from my side. Update your Zoom app, and 10 minutes break. Update your Zoom app, and I'll be giving you all a new ID password. Bye-bye.